So hi, this is Merlin. Today I'm just gonna talk about what I learned today. So, like last video, I just talked the um about this research paper, which is this the map reduce thing, and I just talk about reduce what is reduce function and what is map functions. Right now, I'm just gonna uh, elaborate more about this thing. Um, so first, or so I when I first encountered this kind of diagram, I confused a lot because okay, wait, hold on. Okay, so wait, what is? Yeah, that's more better. Yes, that's more better. So we know, and I know, and what is the map function and radius functions. The map function is basically so there's an input file, input data, and it basically change into key value pairs. Some just it's just like metadata. So there's a key and the value here, and this represent in the uh, so this represents as a metadata of input file. Um, but however, in this diagram, it is split the 01 and 02 and 03 and 04, and it make worker to read whatever stuff if it is. And the thing I was confused was I thought map phase is that was doing the split and convert the original data into reduce friendly data, which is the key value pairs. But actually it was not. If you look, and you're saying that the map reduce command library support this kind of split operation before doing the map phase and reduce phase, because the map reduce, the thing is, it has to split it, and it has to do some kind of whatever task as the parallel, so there's no kind of like there's performance, there's gonna be latency of it. So example, if there's split 0 and split 1 and split 2, so split 0 and split 1 is gonna be executed by the another worker, and split 2 and split 3 is going to another worker, so it's gonna be doing the parallel. But the and the thing you have to also consider is the user program and the master of it. Um, as like me, if you have some just kind of like experience about like the process and operating system, it's just like simple of like that. If you look at the process, and there's gonna be top parent process, which could be master of it. It's just like simple. The master is the one who, it just seems like the parent process is uh the user program creates the worker for it, and of course worker. What it master does is it's just like brain. So it assign the map when it's idle, if it's necessary, when it's doing nothing, it assign reduce as much as possible. So we can just uh we don't have to think about the which part is not gonna be doing whatever work it is. So master is just like a brain, you assign the map, assign reduce. After worker is doing done, and it goes to the intermediate files, and after that, and it goes to reduce phase, and reduce phase now create the alpha file, and we now have to merge the alpha file after the reduce operation. um Actually, the this process, execution process, is actually written here, and let's try to read together. The map reduce in the user program first split into info files in the MPC, which is typically 60 megabyte into 64 megabyte. Uh, yeah, it's just basically okay. There's a input files, and we have to split into m pieces so that we can just do or whatever map functions. So the core thing is we are just we are not able to split into m files. So and this m file is basically it's kind of So based on the M files, we can do whatever like making into files and reduce operation into small clusters of the machines, because basically um MapReduce it, what it does is what we can utilize is, rather than buying the expensive machine or the clusters, we can just use commodity machines for it. It's a cheap one, but there's a lot of it. So for the M pieces, you have to assign for the bunch of the clusters. So, and one of the copies program is special, and this sounds really kind of abstract. So you just have to think about the one of the copies of the program equals the process. So the one of the process is special. So this is actually not really copies of the program. Actually, you can just think about process, because process is actually the copy of the program. Process is just the running instance of the program, which also stands for the copies of the program. So there's a master process, and what it does is it assigns the work. Example for the workers, example map task and R reduce task. The master is one who assign this into whatever worker is. The master picks either workers and assign to map task and or the reduce task. So here, the map master picks either workers and assign new maps, and that's pretty done. The third thing is a worker is assigned to the map task, reads content of the corresponding input. It parses key value pairs out of the input data and passes each pairs to user defined map functions. So here, a worker who is assigned to the map task reads in this part is saying that it parses key value pairs. What I say, what I just said, it parses key value pairs, like it's just the normal map functions do, and after that it doing the user defined map of functions, because there's gonna be user's own interface and user own their data set, and it has to transfer it, and that's called the user map functions, and it has to store in the buffer in the memory, that's called the intermediate for the intermediate data, so whatever, intermediate file, I think. So right now it has to be partitioned the local disk and partition into R regions by partitioning functions. The those people who doesn't understand what a partition thing is, the partition means that there's gonna be a bunch of data, and it has to be grouped by some kind of characteristic. But let me just try to read more. I think the partition means that, yeah. So it's just like a way of dividing intermediate data into a separate group. A separate group, but it has to be yeah, that's the meaning of the partition is there's a bunch of intermediate data, and it has to be some kind of group into separate, and that's called partitioning. And after the after the storing of the buffer pairs, and it has to be pass it back to master, so we could do some kind of reduce workers for it, because if you don't know the location of it, you cannot do the reduce worker. So the passing bank is a real credential, and this worker is notified the master about like their this location. Of course, it uses a remote procedure calls. This is also called RPCs. This is kind of really the how process communicate, not really the process thing. The other device can communicate via RPC. So that's for the separate distribute the devices. For using RPC, you can just communicate the other device, other computer by other computer. So that's called the RPC. So it uses read the buffer data from the local disk on the map functions, map workers. And it's really simple. And when a reduce worker has read or in intermediate data is sorted by the intermediate keys, so that occurrence of these same keys are grouped together. The reason why sorting is needed is typically many different keys mapped into some kind of reduce task. Um, and I think this there's gonna be there has to be more explanation about why sorting is needed, because basically the map reduce doing is there's a bunch of data, and it has to be operated um parallel. But to maximize the parallel, the best option is your input data data is same one. Example, if you're trying to read some kind of occurrence of apple, if there's input but list of the p, we don't have to think about which one is the next p value. So we can just use you can just um get all of the p and make it a parallel and the increase the occurrences rather than reading out a p l a rather than randomness. So that's for the like enhancing the some kind of performance of it. So and that's very simple. It's yeah, and next thing is just this, just the how it's sorted and how it merges. So um yeah, I think this is it. There's a lot of things to to explain, but basically I just talk about the which the process of the map readers after making an input files, the key value pairs. We have to use map into some kind of intermediate data, and it has to store in the disk, and after that it has to send into master, the masters for it's just like the brain of the process. And the master process, the reason why it has to do it because reduce function has to be know the map, because reduce what it reduce does is just the it's just doing merging steps. So after that it has to merge. Yeah, and reduce, and there should be sorting because for the efficiency. And reduce worker iterates over the sorted intermediate data and the its unique intermediate key encounters. It passes key and corresponding the setup intermediate values to the user's reduce function. So that's kind of really explanation about the the diagram, what the diagram just talks about here this part. So I think this is it. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye bye.